The rise, the fall, and the rise again of David Dobrik.
Yo, did you just come here to fucking, embarrass me?
They were kind of just excluded, and it was like they just weren't friends anymore.
You are the worst fucking person!
A lot of the time it takes people a little bit to, process something that happened to them.
Did have a three-way with me and Trisha.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome back to Glitter Gel Pen.
Episode 15. I'm Jill.
I'm Alyssa, and today we are doing a deep dive into the rise, the fall, and the rise again of David Dobrik. This is a trigger warning that this video may be sensitive to some viewers. Some of the subjects will include SA, physical injuries, and more.
Ooh, I'm ready for this one. Alyssa did the research on this one.
Yeah, so it was not, I feel like this was an easier topic for me to do research on just because I watched everything as it was happening for him from the beginning. So I really knew, I feel like I knew what I was talking about. So we'll start off. David was born in 1996 in Slovakia. Okay. So he is not from the United States. His thing, his bit and his jokes was always that he was an illegal immigrant. It was always, he tried to marry people to get green cards as a joke or whatever. Mm-hmm. But his family moved to Chicago whenever he was a kid. And then we're going to fast forward a few years to 2013.
Just a few.
When Twitter launches the app called Vine. So Vine, if you are too young to remember, was an app that you could only upload 6-second videos and they were square form.
Yeah. So think of TikTok meets Instagram before they changed to the rectangular things. It was square, but it was like TikTok.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun though, because you would have to squeeze your jokes into 6 seconds, and there's something about it being so short. It was so addictive to rewatch them, and it was just a good time. Mm-hmm. So David started making Vines in 2013, and funny personal story with this whole scenario is in 2013 I went to Playlist Live in Orlando, which was a YouTube gathering event. Mm-hmm. And I remember in 2013, it was the first time there were people there from, creators were there from another platform. So you had the YouTubers, and then you had the Viners.
Did the YouTubers feel prestige? They were better?
Yeah. It was not, they did not vibe with each other. It was Nash Greer. Mm-hmm. I guess David Dobrik was in the group, but I didn't know who he was at the time at all. So there were just, those people, and then the YouTubers, definitely, stuck their nose up to them. What are the Viners doing here? They don't have skill. They're making 6-second videos compared to us that make hour-long story times or whatever.
Yeah.
So at this Playlist Live, I had met up with these two guys that were they had a channel that was about the same size as mine, and we had planned to do a collab video. So we made this collab video, and then while I was doing my research, at the end of my collab video, there was a guy that I pretend to shoot, and he fell into the swimming pool at the hotel. And when I was watching some of David's old Vine compilation videos, my friend that was in my video was a part of one of David's Vines, because he was floating in the pool.
Yeah, that's actually really cool. I'm sure you were what?
Yeah.
Seeing that. I wish you had the video.
I know. I was telling Jill this past week, whenever I went to Playlist Live, I had a boyfriend. So
tomato.
I know. I know. And when I went there, I guess I just did things I shouldn't have done if I had a boyfriend at home. Mm-hmm. So I didn't put the videos up, or I deleted them because he got mad. I just remember him being super insecure about me being at these YouTube events, even though I was there with my dad.
Yeah.
My dad didn't care. Yeah. Basically, the Vine that David used was him here's the collab we made at Playlist Live. I also put in just like some old Vines that he made just to give you like context for like what his old content originally like looked like.
Okay, because I didn't watch him on Vine ever, so.
Hey, David, does this shirt make me look fat?
No, you makes you look fat.
Dude, I'm pretty sure I told you to leave.
That feeling when you just won a participation trophy? Yeah!
It's really interesting to see Natalie in these. And like him and her look so young. That's crazy.
Yeah, and he was like filming these whenever he still lived in Chicago too. So it was like his like hometown friends.
Yeah.
That was just like a feel for like what his content was. You get a feel for the humor that he did. It was just always like a bit. Mm-hmm. Well, in 2015, February, he uploaded his first vlog to YouTube.
Okay, did Vine go down already, or?
I don't think it had gone away yet, but he had already started like transitioning his audience over.
Okay.
So on Vine, it was often a thing where like people would collab, do videos together, tag each other, and then like your followers would just move over to their account to follow too, because the content was so short. People were like always looking for new Viners or creators on there to follow, just because it just took no time to consume a whole person's like brand. Yeah. So he uploaded his first vlog in 2015, and like you can so easily see like in his vlogs that they took that 6-second short humor and just put it into like a video with several minutes, like and it kind of stayed that way like throughout the entirety of his like YouTube career.
Because weren't his vlogs, didn't they wind up being like only like 4 minutes and 20
Yeah,
minutes?
they were really short and punchy, and there were just like every like few seconds there was like a different bit happening. So he like used the Vine concept but like put it into longer form video.
Okay, almost like a Vine compilation, but
a story. It's like more like a story.
Yeah.
This is it. This is my first vlog. I don't know how long this is gonna last, but I'm gonna give it a shot. I'm gonna try vlogging maybe every other day, every day. Who knows? But I'm gonna do it. So subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hey, this is my first vlog, man. Alright, let's just start vlogging. What a dick.
So he obviously had like an entourage of friends. A lot of them had came from Vine, but a few of them were hometown people that he knew. But whenever he first started, the vlog squad was David Dobrik, Alex Ernst, Liza Koshy, Zane Hijazi, Gabby Hanna, Heath Hazar, Scotty Sire, Durte Dom or Dom Ziglatis, and Todd Smith. And his relationship with Liza Koshy, this was when Liza was blowing up whenever they were together. And I feel like she's really what like pushed him on YouTube in front of a lot more people. And like even me, like their breakup video was massive.
See, I did not watch either of them, but when they had their breakup video, I watched it for whatever reason. And I was like,
the breakup video is what like got me into his vlogs, because they were just so entertaining in even the way that they broke up.
Yeah.
That you just couldn't stop watching it.
The breakup video, I remember they were like both crying.
Yeah.
And like, I was like, oh, this is like sad.
But they were silly, and like it was the perfect breakup video.
Yeah.
And it just made I feel like Liza gave him such like a loving, like it just made you want to love David, because he seemed to be so sweet and like likable. Well, the breakup video is what like really pushed his YouTube career into in front of a lot more people. I put a photo of me and Alex Ernst on there just because I like just hung out with him in a few playlist lives, and like I had no idea that he was like David Dobrik's friend. I didn't even really know what content Alex made. I just knew him from YouTube events.
Yeah.
That was the photo that I put is from Playlist Live 2015.
Okay.
So the success of the vlogs was obviously massive. In 2019, he even won Sexiest Heartthrob by People magazine, which like he's not attractive to me.
Yeah.
But he's so lovable.
He seemed from his early content, from watching this right now, like he was perceived as like this little like teddy bear boy, you know?
Yeah, like he didn't drink, he wouldn't kiss girls on camera. Hot girls would like go after him and he would turn them down because he's like, no, that's crazy, you're too hot, you know, like he just had this way about him. So he also won a Kids' Choice Award in 2019. Y'all, I was the biggest like David Dobrik's vlog fan, so like these vlogs like brought me to tears. And like even after knowing everything that I know, like watching these moments, because David he had something about him that was so like you just wanted to adore him. Like watching these even now, I feel so many emotions. So he won the Kids' Choice Award in 2019, and I put a TikTok there of him winning it. And David actually just shared on his most recent Views podcast that whenever the LA fires were happening and he had to evacuate, his Kids' Choice Award was like one of the few things that he grabbed on the way out because it like meant so much to him. He said that this was his greatest accomplishment.
Kids' Choice Awards are tomorrow. That's pretty exciting. I just watched that clip from 2 years ago, so I'm pretty emotional. But I'll see you there. The next clip you see is probably going to be me at the kids.
I'm wrong. Should have done better than this. Please, I'll be strong. I'm finding it hard to resist. So show me what I'm looking for. Save me, I'm lost. Oh Lord, I've been waiting for you. I'll pay any cost. Save me.
So like it's just like a good like feeling like, and that's what all of his videos had.
And also, like, his fans probably loved it because they probably felt like they got him there, you know, in a way. And in his vlogs, like, Josh Peck was obviously a huge character in them. And, like, David's whole thing is he's, like, obsessed with the 90s and just being a 1996 kid. And, like, the 2000s, Drake and Josh was, like, he always said that Drake and Josh, like, created his sense of humor. So having Josh, like, present him the award, too, was just kind of, like, what's the word? Serendipitous? Or surreal?
Surreal. Yeah. Yes.
Vocab, kids.
But even when the vlogs were at their peak, I put an example of like some jokes that were made in the vlogs on a regular basis.
Okay.
What are you supposed to be?
A snowflake.
You're a snowflake.
She's not a snowflake, she's a fucking blizzard.
It's like, it's me, but it's funny.
Yeah. I guess if she was cool going along with it.
If she's in on it
and is fine with it.
But that's kind of the ongoing thing with I feel like this whole thing that we're going to get into. Here's one other funny one, which is funnier in hindsight knowing that Addison Rae's mom went out with Young Gravy. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, okay. I know that. I don't know what context that plays in
Okay,
this yet,
just
so
watch it.
Hey, Addison. Addison, wake up.
What?
It's getting real late. You should go.
Why?
I think it's just best if you go. And if I'm being honest, I'm kind of seeing somebody.
You heard him, bitch. Pack your stuff.
It's just like the perfect short form humor.
That is funny.
So the vlogs really just were huge during the years of 2017, really until 2021. He slowed down on vlogging because of the pandemic, but his childhood friends, Ilya and Natalie, and a few more of them moved out to LA to join him in the vlog squad and help him like with his businesses. Natalie was his assistant. And then Ilya owned a plumbing company in Chicago. And then he moved out there to start up his fitness company, Zila. So he would have tons of celebrity cameos, like we said, like Josh Peck was one. The Kardashians would appear in his videos, Justin Bieber, and he would like surprise his friends with them or Teslas or cars. And it was just the craziest life.
I do remember seeing like clips of some of his stuff where he had like Justin Bieber in the car with him or, you know, the Kardashians, like the Jenners and stuff.
So obviously like David Dobrik was just everywhere. Everyone seemed to love him except Trisha. Which we're about to get into, but he always played into the nostalgia thing. And the last TikTok there is like a good example of him just like, he had us like 90s kids like by the throat with the things that we love.
Feel like there's a catch coming.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
It's actually not from me. It's from your sister.
Yes. Behind me.
Come out.
Yes. You're a sick bastard. How you doing? Oh my god. This is unbelievable. This is like both of my worlds colliding.
You look good, boob.
Why do you look like a grown-up?
But yeah, so he just like played into like, he was just as excited to make these jokes happen as people were to see like Miranda Cosgrove and Josh Peck back together. So during all of this, especially like 2018 to 2019, Jason was David's right-hand man, and Jason famously dated Trisha Paytas.
Oh, I remember.
Oh, yeah.
I remember this.
So I have a compilation video of every time Trisha kept it real about David, but we'll watch that in a second. So Trisha was involved, obviously, in the Vlog Squad because she dated Jason Nash, and she publicly left and outed the Vlog Squad in 2019. I also want to say in these videos, like, she's came forward now and has said that she was in a really bad place, like possibly drugs were used and things. Like, I don't really know, but she seemed like she was being pretty, like, open and honest in these videos. And it's really crazy for me to watch them back, knowing everything we know now about the group and everything that's happened. So there were several scenarios where you're going to see a pattern where everyone that left the Vlog Squad was known as a specific type of character in the vlogs. And Trisha's thing was David always made her look like the crazy girlfriend.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah. So David would have her involved in the vlogs, and even if it was things that she didn't want to do, just to like get a reaction out of her and like have a bit for the videos. And like I said, her character would be considered the crazy one. She says that there were moments where she was laying there trying to sleep and she overheard David talking to Tana privately, trying to convince her to go into the bedroom with Jason while his shirt was off for a bit for the vlog, even though Tana was 18 and Jason was 45. And Tana obviously didn't want to do it. Like, David was trying to talk her into it. And Trisha says that she knows that Jason would have reciprocated anything sexual that she did, even if he said that he wouldn't, just because she said, like, I know him and he would have done it. Trisha said she didn't want to be involved with the bit because it was gross, and yet David proceeded to do it. Trisha also said that Jason always chose being a part of a bit in the vlogs over caring about how something made her feel. David was obviously like how Jason received money, and he like gave him the following.
So it's like his job, his weird job.
Yeah,
if you
but
think about it, but yeah.
But ironically enough, in the history, Jason was big on Vine before David was. So whenever they collabed on Vine at first, Jason was helping David, and then like the roles reverse. So in a lot of the scenarios looking back, Trisha was kind of being the voice of reason for a lot of young women that were involved and like maybe made to feel like uncomfortable at times, specifically girls like Tana. So the Tana Jason hooking up was a consistent joke that happened, and David knew that it bothered Trisha, but they continued to do it, and Tana was 18 for a majority of the time that the joke was a big part of the vlog. So this is just an example of what that joke would look like.
Okay.
Stupidest fucking fight ever.
She doesn't like Tana jokes. Drop it. And you should stop getting naked in my house. Okay. And they're back.
Jason, I know this fight's really intense and stuff, but would you have a threesome with Tana?
No, I wouldn't. Maybe. I didn't make the joke, he did! I don't want to have a threesome with Tana!
So what are your thoughts on like seeing the Tana interaction?
It's interesting now knowing like that they have a podcast together and they're like friends and stuff. Wasn't there there was one vlog or something where didn't Jason and Tana go on a date or something? Yeah. Okay.
So it was just like a very consistent joke that was made. And Trisha says that Tana never wanted to go on the date. They just like did it as a bit for the videos.
I could see Tana at 18 just like kind of doing whatever's going to get her the most popularity.
Just like going along with it.
Going along with it. Yeah, like maybe didn't want to but was doing it so that she could keep gaining that popularity and whatever.
Yeah.
I can understand why Trisha would be like, this is weird. Like, don't do that. You know?
Right. She's older. Like, she like looks at it differently too.
Yeah. She's older, and then like just the huge age gap too, like of Tana and Jason.
Yeah, so in the 8-minute, like her first video that she posted, like exposing the Vlog Squad, she also outed Brandon Cavillo, I'm not sure how you pronounce his last name, in the video, sharing that he was dating a high schooler. Yeah, and he was like older than David and all of them too. So we'll bring him back up in a little bit. So on the No Jumper podcast, after Trisha had left the Vlog Squad, she went on in 2019, and she was speaking even then about how Durte Dom was talking to 15-year-old girls, and the friend group always knew that Dom was like a creep to women. She said that David would push the Tana and Jason joke so hard because he was trying to push Trisha out of the group. And Trisha posted on her Instagram story in 2019, because Trisha and Jeff used to have beef with each other, where Jeff was still in David's group, and they all looked at Trisha as the crazy one, and Trisha would always like pretend she was gonna expose everyone whenever she was in the squad, and was always like, I don't like you, David. Like, she was always very vocal about it.
Hey, Jeff, guess what? You're a disgusting little bitch. Jeff Wittek, David Dobrik, Jason Nash, Vlog Squad. Y'all are little f***ing bitches. I have a video coming out in 5 minutes. Get your pants f***ing ready, you disgusting piece of shit. Don't f***ing tell me I disrespected any of your friends, you f***ing little punk. Jeff, you don't f***ing know me. You were at the hospital the night I went to the f***ing mental hospital and I tried to kill myself. You're a little f***ing bitch. And you have so much dirty shit on you. Everything. You're f***ing nasty as f***, you little dumb f***. You think I've disrespected David and Jason? Are those the friends you're talking? Oh, you have fucking no idea what you're talking about. And the whole fucking world will know. Fucking David and Jason, you think I disrespected them? You fucking wait. You were fucking lucky I only told your little punk ass bitch story of going to Starbucks, which you totally misconstrued in this latest podcast. You're fucking lucky that's the only story I told, but I have so many fucking more stories that I can tell on my YouTube channel and fucking podcast to show that shit. You are a little
I was not expecting that level of hostility.
I know. So you can just see how easy it would be because of how much she's reacting, that like she played the crazy as well. Like she was obviously mad about things.
And it was, I feel like she was kind of gaslit into, like they knew that they could get a reaction from her.
Yeah.
So they did these things to get these reactions.
Yeah.
You know?
So that TikTok under the text, you can see a compilation of every time in the vlogs where she like kept it very real. Like the fact that she never liked David.
If we ever stop being friends, are you going to talk crap about us?
David, I have so much about you.
What would you say about me?
Oh, I'm not gonna even tell you. If Jason and I break up, you better watch the fuck out.
Oh my god!
As long as me and Jason are together, I won't ever.
Jason, don't mess this up.
Get the knife.
Trisha, you can't expose us.
David, don't say don't expose us. That makes us look guilty.
Oh, yeah.
Trisha, go ahead. You have nothing anyways.
Trisha, we would never expose you.
I know, because you guys are classy. I'm not.
David Dobrik isn't, and I know this video is going to give me so much hate because everyone's up his butt, but they're going to realize, and something bad is going to happen in that group. I don't know what it is. Something bad, something dangerous, something like they do all these dangerous things. Someone's going to either die or like, also.
I still really like you.
I don't like you at all.
Really?
Yeah. Like, I think you're, like, funny, and I think you're, like, a charming person. We're face-to-face, so I'm being nice to you, but, like, if you, like, texted me...
We used to be best buddies, and now we're not.
We're not best
Ever said has been totally corroborated. Everything. And they have worked overtime to just characterize you as some crazy girl who's just out for revenge. But every single footage and everything that's come out has 100% supported everything you say, that these guys are dangerous, that they're flirting with disaster, they're putting people in dangerous situations. And more, it shows that your concerns are genuine.
And
well-founded.
Though when I
She's
made...
got to be feeling good in that, not because, like, this is all terrible things, but she's been fucking, her character's been being assassinated and being shit on and all this stuff. And people, not just David and his crew, but all of his fans saying all this most horrible things about her. Everything she fucking said was true.
She still gets it, even now. I mean, the replies are very, like, some people will still be like, stop being obsessed with David.
Right.
This isn't being obsessed with David.
Thank you.
Well, people say that to us too, but here's the thing.
Trust me, we're not obsessed with David.
Look, I'm just seeing this thing through, dude. That's it. I never expected to go down this rabbit hole.
I've seen some of these clips before, and yeah, you can definitely tell she never actually liked being in this vlog squad.
Yeah, no, I agree. So the next YouTube link, it's an 8-minute video of Trisha it's whenever her and Jason finally broke up, and she just... The one clip was already in there where she was like, something bad is going to happen in that friend group. I don't know what it is, but like Jason always chose David and his bits over me. Everything I've said, I've kind of pulled from that video too. So that is the end of Trisha's relationship with the vlog squad. She obviously started just Trish and has like spoke about it so many times now. And her and Jeff, even like those clips that she posted where she was mad at Jeff, it was in reference to a time that they ran into each other at a Starbucks and Jeff like ignored her, and it really triggered Trisha, and she went onto a few podcasts and was talking crap about how Jeff was like not man enough to face her, which I thought was kind of like, if you don't like someone and you see them out in public, you're not really gonna talk to them. Well, Jeff went on and didn't even like name Trisha, and I think it bothered her that he like wouldn't even name her, and he was like, to the girl that is dragging my name for not addressing you in a Starbucks, like, I'm just going to avoid that confrontation or whatever it was. It just wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
But Jeff went on Trisha's podcast and like kind of squashed the beef between them because they both were exiled from the Vlog Squad. And that is actually what got me watching Just Trish.
Yeah.
Is hearing her talk about that situation in hindsight.
And it seems that when Trisha left the Vlog Squad and her and Jason broke up and she started speaking out about David, she was still seen as like crazy. Like people didn't really believe her. People were still riding the David train really hard. Just to note that, because I know now people actually listen to what's saying.
Yeah.
You know, but back then it was not that.
Right, and she really like did it whenever David was at his peak, and no one listened to her. Yeah. I like, as a viewer of the Vlog Squad, I thought Trisha was crazy.
Yeah,
and it took Jeff, baby Jeff, who I love, going on Trisha's podcast for me to like hear her out. But she did play the role of the crazy girl, like by choice in some of the videos. So it was like hard for me not to believe it sometimes. Like, I think Trisha used that scenario to her own advantage, but whenever things got taken too far and people quit listening to her, she like actually snapped about it.
And I think, too, she didn't help herself that much with the fact that she can, even still today, be, like, a little dramatic about some scenarios.
Oh, yeah.
And so people thought that these things she was talking about were just, like, inflated, like, in her mind, you know?
Yeah.
So
that is pretty much it for Trisha. We may discuss her a little bit more throughout the story, but our next character is Big Nick. His name is actually just N-I-K, but his name is Nick. Nick is someone born with a disability that David had involved in the vlogs almost as a bit, because he has a rare form of dwarfism that left him partially blind and deaf. And so, you know, David has this character who looks very different from your everyday person, I guess. Like, and he also had like followers on Vine, so he had that element to him too. The first two TikToks are examples of the jokes and the way Nick was treated by David and the Vlog Squad.
Big Nick, you got the money you owe me?
Yes, sir, I do.
Ah, perfect. Oh, wait. It looks like you're a little short.
What the fuck? Oh, crap. I'm sick of your bullshit, man. I'm just gonna keep it like that.
Sick of what?
I'm sick of you making fucking fun of me in the videos.
Yeah? What are you gonna do about it?
What am I gonna do?
What was that? Oh, fuck.
Yeah, that's right, bitch.
Like, obviously Nick was in on that joke. Like, there were some moments where it was funny.
Yeah.
But I do have to give a lot of props for helping me with this deep dive. Ethan Klein had all of these former members of the Vlog Squad, on his podcast at some point to give me more information about their experiences. So in 2021, Nick went on the H3 podcast, and on the podcast, he said that once he got away from the Vlog Squad, he was able to reflect and think about life in a better way. He actually said that he found God, and says that he now looks at his time spent in the Vlog Squad as it felt kind of demonic and cult-like. In 2021, he says he still speaks to David sometimes. I'm not sure if they're still in contact, but he did meet David, like I said, through collabing on Vine. He also said he felt like David led the group, and he felt like the Vlog Squad felt comfortable enough to make fun of Nick because David was like in charge of everyone. And so like, because David was making fun of him, the whole Vlog Squad would make fun of him, even though he might not know them like that.
Yeah, he didn't know them like that, and it wasn't like the time and place of a bit, you know. It was like just anytime, you know.
So, and Nick also said that he didn't feel like David did a lot to lift up Nick's content, even though their initial collaboration, Nick was larger than him on Vine, and David was obviously using like his disability for humor throughout the videos. And he said that he did personally have a conversation with David. Like, he apologized to him for how like he made Nick feel, and Nick chose to leave the Vlog Squad, he wasn't exiled. Like, Nick really wanted to clear that on the H3 podcast because I think a lot of people thought that David kicked him out of the videos, and that wasn't really what happened. Like, Nick chose to leave, but he just said that he didn't want to be involved anymore because it didn't make him feel good. And he did kind of say that he got like subliminal like vibe from him, that with him saying that he wasn't comfortable with the jokes anymore, like there was a good chance that he wouldn't be in the content moving forward.
That's the thing with David, is that everything was for content. Nothing seems to me, as an outsider who didn't watch him back then and didn't feel this like relationship to him and knowing stuff about him now, everything that he did was not genuinely like friendships. It was all who is someone that has some kind of certain it factor that can do something for the vlog. Yeah. And then once he'd like put on this persona even to the person that they were friends, and then once they wouldn't be comfortable with their certain thing that they had for the vlogs anymore, they'd be gone and like they wouldn't be friends anymore. Yeah. And I do also think, not really in defense of David, but as someone who would want to be his friend during this time, it would be pretty hard to look at David and say, I want to be his friend, but I don't want to be in his videos. Like, I don't feel like that was reality for like the world that they were in, like just being in LA, like constantly around influencers. Everybody's just like looking for their like clout that they're going to find. Like, I don't think David was in a scenario where he was after intimate friendships personally. Like, I think that's why he flew out his friends from home, if I'm being honest, because like I think that his camera was always on him, even whenever they would go out and drink and party and stuff. Like, it was just always there. So like, for people to come into his life, and not that they should have been taken advantage of, but like it would be like how in our Jake Paul deep dive, like Alyssa Violet moved into the Team 10 house. Like, what did she expect her life to be like? Yeah, I guess just that like the guy could have still been in his content. I don't know if like these people had an issue with being in the content. I think it was the jokes. Right. And they're like bits. And it's like, I'll still like, I understand the camera's on me all the time, but like quit calling me a midget. Like, you know? Yeah. So yeah. For sure. So Nick did say that he found closure from the conversation with David. He didn't seem to have like a lot of hostility towards him. It was definitely very different than how Trisha left the group. And Nick only said that he went on the H3 podcast to like explain why he left. And I think he was just kind of trying to talk about religion and God and stuff at the same time. He was kind of neutral on everything.
Yeah. And he said that, and this is where I think the stuff goes too far. He said that whenever he would get recognized in public, even viewers would feel comfortable enough to like make fun of him because he was always the butt of the joke. And obviously his disability is like an insecurity for him. And he was talking about how like as an adult, he's super at peace and like has accepted himself, but it like brought up like his childhood insecurities of like hating himself so much for like being different. So like he really just wanted to get away from it because it was like making his insecurities about himself come back out. He said he doesn't have any ill feelings towards David and the group. He just needed to get away and like needed the jokes to stop. Like I said, he went on H3 to clear his name and share why he left because David never addressed or took accountability. Nick just kind of disappeared from the videos. And that's also kind of consistent with David's story, is like him just not discussing the issues because he always wanted to be like the happy, feel good videos. He didn't want to like take any public accountability for anything. And I did want to throw in that Nick did mention that Scotty Sire and Jason Nash are the only ones who ever stuck up for him in front of the group and tried to get them to like let up on the jokes.
Okay, I see you, Jason. I don't particularly like him that much, but like that's a good move.
I will say Trisha's the only one who has spoken negatively about Jason, except for Seth. We'll get to Seth though. Okay. Seth is crazy. If you're unfamiliar with the Seth story, I feel like your mind is gonna be blown.
Okay, because I am unfamiliar.
Okay. So Nick also spoke on Trisha on the H3 podcast and just said that he could relate to feeling like suicidal from the treatment of the group, and he found a lot of gratitude in the fact that he realized he was more famous and had more money whenever he was with the Vlog Squad, but he was more unhappy than he'd ever been. And he was like, getting to that point like gave him like a moment of clarity, and he like recentered himself over it. He also said that the group would continuously like talk crap about each other whenever people weren't in the same room. Like they would even talk badly about David when David wasn't in the room. And I could really see that like being a gossipy bunch.
Yeah, like a gossipy bunch. And like when you're all just in it for content, you don't actually care that much about each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like I'm sure too, being in that, just like the Team 10 house, like everything can get annoying. Like cameras in your face, pranks being played, like jokes being made, and it's just like, yeah.
So he just said he was always self-conscious about whenever he wasn't in the room, what they said about him. And this just reminded me of, I saw this like thing, God, I want to say I saw it on Tumblr like 10 years ago, but it was like, don't ever sit at a lunch table. Like, I know we're always like in the cafeteria, but like it said, don't ever sit at a lunch table where you would worry that they would speak about you the moment you get up and leave. And I've always thought about that, like a lot, but that just reminded me of that. This video I put of Dom and Seth, who is the next character that we're going to talk about, just discussing how David would take it too far. And I was going to have you watch it, but we can insert it into the video. But I can't stand to hear Dom speak. Okay. And especially him judging anyone for their actions. I just played it and I don't have it in me actually. Because Dom is disgusting.
Okay.
You know, I know you're not the only one that experienced this type of same thing. You know, I know Big Nick kind of has also been bullied, you know, in the past for being in David's vlogs, you know, and people are using derogatory terms to him. Like, you know, they're not lighthearted. They could be taken as making fun of his condition, you know, and that aren't good, right? What's the best, you know, form of action for any creators that are, you know, maybe poking fun at different disabilities or conditions or looks?
I would just say don't do it. With Nick, that is a legitimate health condition that like he's been in surgeries for, and to be on a platform speaking about that and making it look like, hey, go ahead and just do that. You know, Nick is very hurt by a lot of those things, you know, and it's totally justified.
He was depressed for a whole 2 years while being in Vlog Squad because of those remarks.
Yeah, Alex is not trying to take sides with friends. Like, he's not like, oh, I'm not with the Vlog Squad because I'm siding with Seth, or I'm with the Vlog Squad. He just legitimately reached out to me after he's seen the...
So that's pretty much the summary of Nick. He seems like he's doing better, but that was the podcast that I was making notes for was in 2021. So I don't really follow his content or anything. The next person, I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name, but his name is Seth Francois.
Francois.
I don't know.
We'll go with that.
So again, Seth went on the H3 podcast.
Okay. That was like everybody's tell-all when they would leave.
Yeah. So he wanted to discuss his entire experience on the Vlog Squad. Seth is a black man, and he participated, and he did take accountability for like being a part of some racist jokes. In the vlogs, there was like a bit where Seth would be in the video and they would have like the fridge full of watermelon, and like Seth would open the fridge and all the watermelon would fall out. And like he took accountability for like allowing those jokes to happen and not being like, that's not cool. But it was almost...
I'm sure David was eating it up though. Because I'm sure he was like, look, my black friend thinks it's okay. So it's okay.
Yeah. Like Seth's character was the black guy.
Yeah.
So as you see, everyone has a role that they play.
Yeah.
Except David.
Yeah.
So we've had Trisha, the crazy one. We have Nick, the one with the disability. And now we have Seth, the black guy. And that's the way that David painted them, not, you know, the way that we look at it. So the kissing videos are crazy because as a viewer watching these videos come out, I'm taking accountability for my actions because these videos were mine and my brother's favorite videos on the internet because we could not stop laughing. And in hindsight, I look at it really, really differently. But the way that David put this scenario out there really made people feel like this was okay, is all that I'm trying to say by saying that I like the content, because I was not alone. There were millions of us that watched these videos and like thought it was okay. So there were these kissing videos that Seth has been a lot more vocal about having an issue with. The kissing videos happened in June of 2018, and I'm going to show you what they are. But he, like, even whenever he went on the H3 podcast in the last couple of years, had a hard time discussing it. So the gist of the videos, because I'm like hesitant to play them because it's bad, but you have to watch it to like know what I'm talking about. So they didn't tell Seth that he was kissing a man. He thought it was Corinna that he was making out with while she was in like a animal suit, but it was Jason. Yeah. So they didn't tell him, and the first time it happened.
The first time?
John, I'm about to blow your mind. Like, it's crazy. The first time it happened, he had just got off of a flight. He said he was super exhausted. David asked him to come over for a bit, and he didn't think anything of it.
Making out with Jason.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so that was the first time it happened. They told Seth that it was Corinna in the suit, and then they had Corinna walk out after he had been kissing Jason, and Jason like took off his mask and said something about being daddy or whatever. So in that moment,
that's like so wrong.
I know.
That's so wrong.
Like in the moment, the way that he edited the video, it was Seth seemed like he thought it was funny. And Seth, like reflecting on the H3 podcast, he said that in the moment he was so shocked. You've got a camera in your face, you've got a group of people who are laughing at you, and he was like, I was afraid to react and like be seen as the angry black man, and then I didn't want that to be my character because that's just not who I am.
Yeah, and I mean, just like how when we say, like, because this is sexual assault, like, you know.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. And, you know, how you say, like, a lot of the time it takes people a little bit to, like, process something that happened to them. And, like, that's probably one of those things. So, in the moment, he's probably, like,
and it could just be, like, it's one of those things where, like, you, even 30 minutes after the fact, you could look at that and be completely disgusted with what happened. And, like, you can't, like, take it away. And knowing that it was filmed and going to be put on the internet for millions of people to see.
Yeah.
So David then, again, Seth didn't come out at that time and say that he had an issue with it because he was in the vlog still. He was trying to be a content creator. So it happened again. You can keep playing that video and David explains why he feels like it's okay that he did it the second time.
Too long after that, I had an idea to pull the prank on him again, so I thought it would be fun to blatantly ask him for consent. Do I have permission to try to prank you again and get you to make out with Jason?
I'm very confused by that, because how the hell could you be so confident to tell me that I have to consent to something that I'm not going to know that I'm going to do?
This is how we were going to do it. I went over to my friends at Collab to see if they would help me make a fake beef jerky commercial. We created a fake production company that created a fake script.
So we're about to send out this email to Seth for this beef jerky commercial.
Fake beef jerky commercial. We created a fake website to go along with the fake production company. Within 2 days, Seth responded to his fake audition with a real audition tape.
I'm here with Zach Link's auditioning for the part of...
What a fucking moron.
We gave it a couple hours and then we gave him a call with some really exciting news.
Welcome to the beef jerky family, man. We're super, super excited to have you.
A couple days later, it was time for the shoot, so we hired 3 women to play the sexy Sasquatches so that Seth wouldn't notice when Jason switched out with one of them mid-shoot. And then we made sure to hire an additional 14 crew members along with a director, producer, assistant director, makeup crew, and audio technician. And this was all happening while the rest of us sat in a tiny trailer outside the house watching his every move on a tiny screen. We wanted to make sure that Seth believed the commercial was real, so we shot it just like it was planned, and then we slowly transitioned into the prank. And this is how it turned out.
Action, Lindsay, and just keep working with each other. You gotta really pay attention, really get into them. Maybe a little motorboat over there. Room. Open up, we still want to see. Camera, get in, are you getting this? Get in. Yeah, crash it up. You guys, it's amazing. Keep going, it's so good, it's so good.
Congrats on your commercial, Seth.
Oh my god. Hey Seth, can we just do one more take?
You fuck every single one of you motherfuckers.
Why did they let that go on so long?
I don't know.
Also,
whenever I played it back, I couldn't believe how long they were kissing.
Yeah, that's insane. That's insane.
I know.
Like,
it's crazy.
That is crazy. It's still so wrong.
I know.
Like,
in the moment, thinking as a viewer that Seth was okay with it for whatever reason, like we thought it was okay, but like now looking back, they hired. Okay, so yes, did David ask Seth for permission to prank him like that again? And Seth said, yeah. Okay. They hired a production crew to trick him and coerce him into doing that.
Yeah, I'm sure he was thinking that he was going to just try and like prank him like the first time again.
Yeah.
And he was going to be more aware and like know not to do it the next time.
In LA, like if you're a young person in LA, most likely you're an aspiring actor, and if you get an acting role, you're going to say yes to it, especially trying to do the influencer thing. Like it's really crazy the extent that they went to like trick him into doing it. And like it would be one thing if David would have been like involved on the set and Seth would have maybe had the opportunity to suspect something.
Yeah.
But it's just like, it was gross.
It was like a prank that nobody would have ever thought that was like a prank for this.
Yeah.
No one. And knowing that he had like an issue with it the first time, that's disgusting.
I know.
And just thinking about like him not being comfortable with that, and then just like, because it's so cringy to watch. Like imagine having that being yourself, and you're having to watch yourself make out with someone you didn't want to make out with for that long. They filmed it, and then knowing they're going to put it up on the internet
after having experienced it once before too.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just, the amount of time they let the scene go on to was just too much. And whenever Seth was on the H3 podcast, it's sad because Seth was like saying that he moved away, like he left California after that because he was struggling so bad. And they were discussing how Jason was so into it, and like, is it not weird that he was just like okay with doing that to someone with them not knowing who they're making out with,
not consenting? Like, I can't get over this. That's like, obviously, like, two men making out is not humiliating if they're both consenting and both want to be doing that. But like, that is like humiliating.
And for a straight man to willingly kiss another man not knowing that he's kissing another man, like it's just wrong, especially on camera. Like it's just so gross. So Seth was just saying how like watching the video back, like watching Jason be into it, like made him even more uncomfortable because like you've already got the character persona of Jason like trying to date Tana, and then you've got like him like being so willing to like put Seth through that, and it's just like it's just gross.
And this is one of those situations too that I think for people who have a hard time thinking of this as SA for whatever reason, imagine if he was a woman.
Yeah.
It would be appalling and disgusting. And
so whenever Seth asked David to take the video down, David didn't. He unlisted the video so that it wasn't public, but still with unlisted videos, anyone with the link can still open it up. So if anybody had the link somewhere, they would be able to watch it. But Seth also just discussed how when any of the Vlog Squad members showed any pushback or gave any resistance to being a part of the jokes, they were kind of just excluded. And it was like they just weren't friends anymore. And there was a moment where David and Jason were discussing the prank after I think Seth came out and said something negative about it. This might have been before, but if you want to watch that video.
What? Today we pulled a prank on my friend Seth.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. And now you can talk about it.
It's probably the best prank I've ever pulled on anyone, in my opinion. We have this scary mask that we've been pranking people with, and it's just a scary mask, and everyone knows that it's a mask. And I told Seth, hey man, I want to do this bit. It's like a dream sequence where you make out with the mask guy, and it just looks like you're dreaming and you're making out with an old man, because the mask makes you look like an old man. And I'm like, Corinna's gonna be in it, and Corinna's a girl in my vlogs, and he thinks Corinna's really attractive. So
Corinna's kind of like the hot girl in David's vlogs.
Yeah. So he's like, yeah, I'm totally down. And I'm like, yeah, Seth, just don't hold back. You can make out as much as you want, have as much tongue as you want, just keep kissing her. But what Seth didn't know is that I replaced Corinna with Jason. So Jason was under the mask. And everyone in the room's like, this isn't going to work.
Everyone doubted you. Yeah.
Everyone, Brandon, Corinna, like, this isn't going to work. This is stupid.
Because of the size difference.
Because of the size
about
difference.
6 feet, and Corinna's about 5'6".
And then the bit starts going, and Seth is there sitting on the couch. Jason walks in as Corinna. He's not speaking, obviously. Sits next to her. Seth leans in, and as he's leaning in, I'm like, fuck yeah, I got it. It's game over. It's in the bag.
I sit down. I put my hand on Seth's knee, and I put my hand behind his back and start rubbing his back and squeezing his knee. And then he
just leans in and just goes at it.
I slip him the tongue first.
Like with tongue, they start making out. And at this point, we're like 5 seconds in, And I'm like, this is it. This is what I wanted. I got what I wanted. I'm out. Like, we can end this. And I'm like, Seth, like, I'm ready to tell him.
He's coming, now he's coming into my mouth with his tongue so hard.
You could tell his tongue is...
Did he grab my ass?
He grabbed your ass. He grabs Jason's ass because he thinks it's Corinna. At this point, the poor dude probably has a boner. And he's really making out with Jason.
They talk about it like it's funny. It's like, your friend didn't consent to kissing Jason. Like, and he didn't like it the first time.
And in my opinion, of all the things, like, I put a lot of information in about this one just because I kind of feel like it's the worst one. Because I think the other things that David has done, even like with Jeff, like, at the end of the day, that was an accident that happened. Like, and we'll get into that more. But the thing with Seth was so intentional, and it was such like that he called it a prank, but it was like a trick, and it was like a really gross trick in hindsight. And
he's so unremorseful.
Like, and you can hear even how David was talking about it after the fact. As a viewer, we thought that was okay. And like, if Seth would have came out earlier, I probably would have looked at it differently, but I had never heard anything negative from Seth to know that it was so like uncomfortable. And I never really thought about it until like Seth left the vlog squad, and I was like, dang, that was like kind of crazy that they did that.
Yeah. I could even imagine, like, it was hard for Seth. Probably after that, I could see how something like that would make you, like, question your sexuality, or when you've known, like, you're a straight man, but something like this, like a trick like that, it's just crazy.
Yeah, and
it's not funny.
But it was like the environment that David's vlogs created let people know that stuff like that was like okay to do to someone, or made them feel like that was funny or comical or whatever. So that's the general gist of what happened with Seth. He's still not in LA from what I understand, but it's just sad that I'm sure he like struggles with that a lot, just it being so public too. So our next vlog squad member is Durte Dom. Yeah, so Dom was in the vlog squad from the very beginning. His character was always the party guy who was always looking for women to have sex with, but he was genuinely this way and like always making women feel uncomfortable on and off camera. And to Dom, it was always funny. And I put a TikTok there of just an example of Dom's character in the vlog.
Invite these girls over to have a fivesome, so hopefully I have a fivesome tonight.
After a couple minutes of talking, it was clear there was no fivesome happening tonight. But by some stroke of luck and master negotiating, Dom made progress.
We just need to get in there and do a head count for the vlog. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right.
I used that clip too over some of the other ones because I love baby Jeff. I love Jeff, but Jeff was in on the jokes.
Yeah.
That he drags David for now. And obviously, like, I know that Jeff looks at all of it differently, but there were just scenarios where sometimes I think Jeff goes at David for that Dom stuff. And
when he kind of like
everyone
allowed
knew
it as well.
Yeah, and everyone knew that Dom was problematic. So that was just an example of like the kind of jokes that were made about Dom and his like persona. But several women came out over the years and accused Dom of SA, and the accusations started in literally May of 2017. So this was like in the very beginning of the vlogs being big. There was another accusation video from a woman who said that she was groped at VidCon in June of 2017, and in November of 2018 they were still making jokes about Dom hooking up with women and making women uncomfortable in the vlogs. So it's been years of accusations. Like, everyone knew what that
like
was.
They didn't even care. Like, people made accusations and they made it a joke even more.
Yeah. So the video that you just watched, there was a video about the fivesome happening with Dom. That was in November of 2018. And it's just known at this point that Dom is a creep, yet it was still a bit in the videos. And Dom did end up being removed from the group after years and years of accusations. But there were pretty much always accusations out against him, and he was still in the vlogs even after they were coming out. But the big turning point with Dom, and honestly the vlog squad, was whenever the Business Insider article came out where the woman was under the age of 21. Someone from the vlog squad bought them a bunch of alcohol. Trisha has actually accused Jeff of being the one that did it, and he says that he would not have done that. So this Business Insider article came out, and this is the one that famously came out while they were creating the Casey Neistat documentary. This came out in 2021. So The article came out while Casey was producing that documentary that was supposed to be a positive story about the behind the scenes of like being a part of the biggest YouTube group. It completely derailed the storyline of the documentary. And there were a lot of moments where David would vlog the girls that were made to feel so uncomfortable, like it was part of the joke. So David vlogged this scenario even with the girl that went to Business Insider. This story was like documented, and she said that someone bought alcohol for all the girls that were under the age of 21, and on that specific night when the accident happened to her, she was completely intoxicated. So to me, it's like if she's under 21 and she's drunk, there's no scenario where she could have given consent.
No.
The girls would also feel pressure to say yes because you've got David Dobrik, who is so well loved and so famous and so popular, and they would ask him to partake in a bit, but then they would send them off alone in a room with Dom, where Dom would take advantage of them. So it was just like a recipe for disaster.
It was like a joke to David, but it was other women's like real lives that this was happening to.
And it was like just that, like this was David every week, but like this was that girl's like one chance to hang out with David Dobrik and his friends for the week, like of her life probably. And like she's gonna like in that there's a power dynamic issue. So like most girls would have said yes to like being a part of a joke and wanting to be fun.
And I could even imagine like that these girls, they were down to like act that way on the camera and be like down for the bit, you know? But then like when they got behind closed doors, I could imagine them like not actually wanting to do anything and Dom just not accepting that, and they're intoxicated and you know, that kind of situation.
Yeah, so this TikTok that's next is a story from Riley Reid. I don't know if she still does porn, but she was a famous porn star, and she was like a recurring character in their vlogs where she's like, she is so hot. Like it was always like she was just like the prettiest girl, and you would like, I don't know, like she's not, to me, like she's so beautiful that you don't look at her like, she doesn't give off porn star beauty. I know y'all, that sounds crazy, but like she was just like a normal girl, but she was really, really pretty. So she's telling a story in this TikTok about how even someone like her with all of the following and all of the power in the world was like made to feel uncomfortable in this scenario.
When I did David Dobrik's YouTube video, he has a camera on me and he goes, do you think my friend Dom is hot? And I was like, yeah, he's cute. He's like, would you kiss him? And I was like, yeah, I'd kiss him. He's like, would you kiss him right now? And I was like, ooh, I'm under a little pressure. I'm in a room of like 12 people playing up this Riley Reid persona, filming this David Dobrik video. And he's like, would you fuck him? And I was like, yeah, again, playing up Riley Reid persona. And then he's like, would you fuck him right now? And I was like, and then they were like, okay, like, let's go into the room. And they basically like pushed me into a room with him. He starts like talking to me about wanting to do stuff and everything. And I was like, and I asked him, I was like, when's the last time you were tested? And they were also talking about how he just had some like the night before or something. Right. And he was like, I haven't been tested in like 3 weeks or something. And I was like, well, I'm definitely not you. I felt so lucky that he didn't get tested, because then I got to end the video on such a beautiful, positive note, because I was like, guess what? He could have fucked me if he was tested, but he's not. So make sure you get your.
Even there, she's saying you can tell that she was uncomfortable because that was her out, was that he didn't take a test, and she felt uncomfortable just to straight up say no.
Yeah, and like, she felt lucky that she had like a good reason to like say no, and it's like you don't actually have to have a reason at all to not want to do that. Yeah,
but these. I can fully understand why these women don't feel like that's a good enough reason.
So Dom did speak out about all of the allegations and said that none of the allegations were true and that it was all consensual. But like we said before, like how can a woman under the age of 21 who's completely intoxicated give consent? There's a short version of David addressing Dom. So this was the first time David uploaded like a sit down video talking about anything. It's like it took this really dramatic Business Insider article coming out with a woman doing real like accusations against them for him to like sit down and say anything. But that's like a short version of what David says.
With people in my life that I don't film with anymore, like Dom and, you know, the other people that I no longer film with, I chose to distance myself because I don't align with some of the actions, and I don't stand for any kind of misconduct, and I've been really disappointed by some of my friends, and for that reason I've separated from a lot of them. I think with any video I make, my main purpose is to make people happy and inspire people, and I never want anything to get in the way of that. And I'm sorry if I've let you down, and things like that won't happen again. And I learned from my mistakes. And I also believe that actions speak a lot louder than words. And, you know, you can take my word for it that I'm going to change, but I'll also show you and I'll prove to you that, you know, the mistakes I made before won't be happening again.
So he's really disappointed in his friends, even though he's the one that made them these characters and filmed all of it.
Right.
Like, bullshit.
Yeah.
Bullshit. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't buy the apology at all. And I think he's only coming out now because he didn't care when these other women in 2017 said something about Dom. He cared when it was Business Insider and it was like known to the public that he might be bad and his friends might be bad. That's when he spoke out. He didn't care about the women.
Yeah. So that's pretty much the summary of Dom. It's, you know, it's pretty consistent. Like the SA accusations, like from 2017 to the moment that he was exiled from the group. But that's pretty much the summary of Dom. I don't like Dom. He's disgusting to me. But our next character is Jeff Wittek.
Little baby Jeff.
Baby Jeff. We love Jeff over here. Jeff's character in the Vlog Squad was always the ex-con. He was the guy from New York who used to be in prison for selling drugs. That was his bit. He was also really hot. He was the hot, like, the guy.
Yeah.
Still is.
Yeah. We love you, Jeff.
So everything was going well with Jeff in the Vlog Squad. Summer of 2020 came along. David had kind of cut back on vlogging because of the pandemic, and David was planning this big comeback vlog where he rented an excavator in Utah at a lake where Jeff had the infamous incident.
So that's so upsetting.
I know.
I know it sounds vain, but like when you feel confident because of the way you look or something, like having something done to your face like that, like you have to be thinking like, I don't know, it just depressed me. That sounds vain, but
No, I know. It's hard. So that was June of 2020. And then in April of 2021, after months of dodging the rumors about what was going on, Wittek uploads a multi-part documentary called Don't Try This at Home, which explains an accident that he suffered last year, broke parts of his face and skull, and required him to have surgery. For David Dobrik's comeback vlog, the Vlog Squad went wakeboarding, like we said. Corinna went on the rope swing right before Jeff, and it started falling, and she yelled that she wants to get off. And she even can be heard yelling in the video, "You take things too far." And then Wittek got on after her. Dobrik swings him higher and then abruptly stops, which caused him to crash into the machine and then into the water. Jeff says, "This is where I made a mistake. I forgot that the biggest effing idiot I know was driving it." And footage of Dobrik appears in Wittek's documentary, but Dobrik has not yet addressed the Vlog Squad wakeboarding stunt.
it's like, why would you stop it abruptly? Like, why would you do anything to put in jeopardy like people when it's an excavator? You know, it's big machinery that
And
hurt
at the
somebody.
time the accident happened, David had been driving the excavator for 9 hours, so he knew how to work it.
Yeah.
So Jeff said that David, from the moment the accident happened, was trying to always prove that it was Jeff's idea. David was the only one allowed in the hospital with Jeff because it was during COVID. And David took a screenshot of Jeff sending David an excavator stunt. I want to say it was something 50 Cent had posted. So he sent David a DM about like an excavator stunt, and David hadn't opened the DM from Jeff about this video yet. It was completely random that they did that. And he screenshotted it after the accident happened as if he was trying to like have receipts that it was Jeff's idea.
Which, like, I don't care if it is Jeff's idea. Jeff probably didn't think you were going to stop it and he was going to slam into the machine. That
Right.
wasn't part of the thing. He wanted to swing around like you were swinging everybody else around. Nobody else got hurt because you were operating it properly and you didn't when you were doing it with Jeff. So
yeah. So as Jeff healed and battled with extra surgeries, he eventually quit hearing from David. And in February of 2022, Jeff finally came out publicly negative against David in a Jeff FM podcast, because I think Jeff was trying to give David time to like pay the medical bills. He was trying to like give him some grace because he was friends, because I think at the end of the day, Jeff knew David didn't do it on purpose. But I think anyone would feel this way, like if something like that happened to you and like he didn't care to stop his life enough to even just make sure you were okay, help you pay your bills, anything like that, it would make anyone mad. Jeff finally came out publicly negative against him and was basically just like, F that guy. Like he never checked on me. He never came to visit me. He didn't complete paying the medical bills. And then the next month, David responds in an episode of Views for the first time addressing the scenario. And here is a clip from David talking about it on the Views podcast. And in that TikTok, there's also a response from Jeff.
And here's the thing. I don't understand why that bothered him so much. Because at the end of the day, I was the one fucking driving it. It was my video. I was the one sitting there. It's fucking clear as day. I am the one controlling the thing. He got hurt because I was driving. That's it. And I fucking know that. And like I said, I would... Any chance I would get, I would take that back. Any chance I would get. And
you've been driving it for 9 hours, so you know how to operate the thing. You know how fast it goes. The whole bullshit fucking automatic stop thing was a fucking lie that we try to throw in there if that comes up later on. You knew exactly how fast you were going to spin me. The first time I got on it, we agreed to do a little bullshit spin. Not a spin, a swing. Same thing as Corinna did, but the rope started falling down. And then you wanted to fucking whip it like that, and I screamed for my life, and that's the one mistake I made, was putting my life in someone else's hands, in your hands. That's it. That's what I fucking asked, is for you not to tell people this was my idea. Not to tell people that I'm a fucking, like, I deserve to get hurt like this. I didn't want you to frame it like that, which is what you're doing right now.
And you saw that while you were on the beach, too. It sounded like you set up the whole event to do that stunt.
You know, it was like the carnival swings, but they come down and swing down slow. I should have never been parallel with the earth.
Here are some of the things that he's told me that I, are legitimate. They're legitimate gripes, like, he came to the house to do a Hawaii video, and he thought, and you had planned the Hawaii trip the same day as one of his surgeries. So there was no way that he could go to Hawaii, but he was here for the return of the video.
When Natalie chimes in with her like low ass voice and is like, we didn't know when his surgeries were happening. It's like, did you ask him?
Yeah.
Because if I did that to you, I would like put my life on pause to make sure you were like, I just can't imagine.
I can't imagine that either. And like, also, can they not just like think about it if it were like if you were in Jeff's shoes? Like, can they not think about that? Like, you would want someone to be reaching out to you, making sure you're okay. Like, Jeff's dealing with a lot. He might not, even if he didn't, which I think he probably did actually tell them, and they're just trying to act like he didn't.
Yeah.
But even if he didn't, it's like he's got so much going on with scheduling these surgeries. He's probably still hurting. Like, he doesn't have time to text you every 5 seconds of the day to tell you every update. Like,
yeah. And the next TikTok is an example of a way that just really made it look like David didn't care at all about Jeff and what he went through.
You know, I had this on when I got blasted in the head by the fucking crane. It was It was an old one though.
Oh, the new one?
And they took it off in the hospital when they cut all my shit off when I was on the bed. And I was only in there with one guy. So I gave it to him to hold. Guess what happened? He lost it.
Who was the guy?
Who do you think?
Was it David? Gave him the fucking thing and he lost
There's only one guy allowed in the hospital. It's COVID times.
Bro, he is a monster. He's like the worst dude ever.
I had to get another one. My other friend bought me another one because I told him that story. I was pissed off. My friend from New York. I told him the fucking story.
I missed the mark with that
Can you
one.
imagine, like, you kill someone and they're like, just hold on to this heirloom for me?
That protected me.
He's like, throw it out
and
the
he
window.
got rid of it.
What
He's
else?
like, he's dead.
Though?
Actually,
rid of the evidence.
I know it sounds funny, but it's actually fucking sick.
Yeah. So you can just like the one thing Jeff asked him to do in that moment, and David didn't even keep up with it. So after the accident, Jeff didn't initially plan to pursue legal action against David, but after David spoke in Casey Neistat's documentary that has still not been released, blaming Jeff for the accident, he changed his mind and they are now in a legal battle. Jeff's lawyer is working pro bono, so it seems like David's tactic is to prolong the lawsuit like as long as he possibly can as a strategy because he has money. And Jeff has money, but he's also paying out of pocket for the surgeries.
And I heard just from Jeff talking something about that they're like $90,000 for like the surgeries and stuff out of pocket.
There is one reason like the lawsuit is because David never paid for the medical bills. He's also blaming him, but Jeff did have insurance to help cover the surgeries, but the surgeons that his insurance covered were not the best. It was like because the surgeries were so critical to one, his eyesight and the look of his face, Jeff chose to go to a more expensive doctor as any person, if they had the opportunity, would.
And I'm just saying, if you were the one driving and did that to me, and you have David Dobrik money, like there's no reason you shouldn't pay that for me.
Yeah,
you know, like
and I understand like he could have went to a cheaper doctor, had the insurance pay for it, but like no one would want to risk that. Like every time he goes into surgery, he risks losing his eyesight completely, and he is a literal barber who like needs both of his eyes to do a good job.
Yeah.
And he still doesn't have full vision in that eye. So his insurance didn't cover the surgery for the surgeons that he went to. And he's had just under 20 surgeries since the incident, and he's still lucky to be alive because every time he does it, it's a high risk. Jeff also claims that Natalie, who was David's assistant at the time, forged his signature in the documents, and this is part of the lawsuit. So the information's fairly limited as of now, but the suit is for $10 million, and he filed in June of 2022. So thinking about how quickly it all unfolded, like the incident happened in 2020. No one even knew about it until April of 2021. At that time, Jeff was giving the impression that him and David were on good terms, but David had quit speaking to him. And then Jeff publicly came out in April of 2022, finally being like, screw David Dobrik. And then there was the lawsuit by June. That is pretty much where the Jeff stuff stands at the moment.
And for me, this was like this was the first like negative thing that I heard about David. So I would say from an outsider perspective that this would have been like the beginning of the fall of David.
Yeah, and it kind of was like this happened, and then the Business Insider article coming out within the same year, and then like COVID, so he was already like not vlogging, so it really just was a lot. So those are all of the characters. The only other character that I really put notes on is Jason Nash. He was obviously like David's right hand through everything. He has a comedic background, blew up on Vine, and that's how him and David met, but his character bit was always that he was the old guy.
Yeah.
There's never been, other than like the interactions with Tana and Trisha, there really wasn't. Jason hasn't had a big downfall. Like he's still David's guy. So there could be more, but we don't know of anything else right now. Also, in the middle of like the Dom stuff coming out, the Jeff stuff happening, David goes to open this like disposable camera app called DISPO. And in September of 2020, a 5-part TikTok series about a young man named Kareem offering his application to be a designer for Dobrik's new app goes viral. And in the videos, Kareem suggests the name of DISPO, which led to Dobrik to comment on his TikTok saying that he loved the name and he would be in touch. Kareem later reveals that David decided not to hire him. Yet, in 2021, David launched DISPO and still used the name. So that in itself was controversial. And because all of this stuff came out and like really got bad in 2020, March of 2022, David stepped down from the company because the Business Insider article had came out and he was losing all of his sponsorships with SeatGeek and like the really like major companies that were working with him. Natalie took over the company at this time. She's now president of Dobrik LLC, but he was obviously still involved. He just stepped down so that the app wouldn't flop. He tried to come back in June of 2021 after all of the essay allegations had started and the Jeff incident happened. He tried to come back with a vlog surprising his friends with things as if none of the controversies happened, but it really didn't come across well, so he didn't keep uploading. It was like he just wouldn't address anything. So
that's kind of be what he
his
does,
thing, yeah.
right? He just comes back.
Yeah. So he quit vlogging, and then he stayed silent to his YouTube audience for years now. Although
we know he was on Snapchat.
Yeah,
okay?
he was active on Snapchat and making a lot of money on there, and he still posts there every day. So now we're in 2025. David also, like, in the time that he wasn't vlogging, opened a pizza company with Ilya called Dobriks in West Hollywood, and he still, like I said, posts daily on Snapchat. So the TikTok is just an example of his comeback. I think we all are familiar with it. It came out 2 weeks ago. He returns to vlogging in January 2025 as if nothing happened, but with a six-pack. He's still giving away Teslas.
And I do want to note, we watched Adam McIntyre's video, like when David came back this past time, and it really put into perspective for me when Adam said that, you know, he came back with a physical transformation to, you know, trick people in their minds to thinking that he's like this changed, like, different
and
person.
He's mentally changed.
Yeah, and he's not.
But the vlog being so consistent, even with like the inappropriate jokes, partying with his friends, he even got his like Seat Geek sponsorship back. So the comeback vlog is currently sitting at over 7 million views in the first 2 weeks. But he says it isn't a comeback vlog, just a one-off vlog, and he will continue to post every once in a while whenever he has good content, but he's not like back in the YouTube space permanently. I assume it's because Snapchat is making so much money. He also returned with his podcast Views with Jason Nash, which is like good for Jason, whatever. He doesn't have to beg for money on TikTok anymore.
Yeah, really.
And
I think that's the only reason that David brought the podcast back was because Jason was hurting so bad.
Yeah, and one thing with David and Jason that people talk about a lot is David turned down a $10 million Spotify deal whenever all of the allegations were coming out because he was basically just avoiding being in the public eye and allowing like any kind of discourse about him to happen. And I think he was just trying to like take a break from it, but because of it, like Jason lost a lot of money. So the podcast coming back is a really big deal for Jason. Jason has kids and a family, and he's like bought a home in LA and all that stuff. But that's kind of where everything is sitting right now.
With that video, with his newest vlog having 7 million, and it's like hot topic. Everybody's talking about it. Seems like a lot of people are forgetting about the other all the other things, and he's kind of having this rise again. And so we'll keep up to date on if he keeps rising or if people, you know.
I feel like the comeback was overall positive though. Like the only people I really saw saying anything negative about it was like Jeff and Trisha. And like Jeff, understandably, do I think Trisha is dramatic by saying that she's had inflicted anxiety from David vlogging again? Yeah.
Yeah, I do too. Because Trisha's dramatic, but that's why we love her. You know what I mean?
But you can also like avoid someone's content.
Yeah, you don't have to watch it.
Right.
So there's that. Do I personally want to tune in? No, because especially after like seeing all this.
I know.
I didn't realize he was like quite so bad. I knew about Durte Dom and I knew about Jeff. But I didn't realize the extent to what David enabled Durte Dom.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I knew that what Durte
It was
Dom
a lot
did,
too.
but
It was like way more than one time too. So it's crazy. And like I said before, I've always been like a huge David Dobrik fan. So it kind of sucked like seeing all of this stuff like laid out like as a list of things that he's done wrong. I will say he had a positive moment on YouTube for years. Like there were always things going on, but like I feel like no one is making videos about how positive and like good and like heartwarming some of his videos were, which I will say like there's that too. People are only going to make videos about like the dramatic like negative stuff, and I think everyone has some negativity if you look hard enough. Do I think like David, my biggest thing in all of it that I think David is responsible for are the things against Seth. Like even like the stuff with Nick, like yes, Nick came into the group and was made fun of and made to feel like that was okay. But it's kind of like what I said earlier, like when you walk into a room with David Dobrik vlogging, you're going to be the butt of a joke at some point. I think everyone was, whether you're the crazy Trisha one or the old Jason or the ex-con Jeff or Nick with dwarfism, like you're always going to be the butt of the joke if you're in David's room. So it's like, if you choose to walk into that, you're going to probably have some consequence of being involved.
Yeah.
And not that anyone deserved any of that, but it's also like if you play stupid games you win stupid prize kind of thing, right? But I also think the stuff with Seth over all of it and Jeff,
like
Seth and Jeff are the two that I'm like, you treated them like shit.
yeah, I mean like the Seth stuff is not even, it's not like, you don't sign up for that. Like,
right.
Like, just because you're in a David
Yeah,
vlog,
like that was where it was like too far.
Yeah. Like, that's one of the things that's like, this, I'm not just the butt of the joke. Like, this was SA.
Yeah. Crazy. And obviously, like, I also feel for the women that were involved in like victims to Dom, and even Tana for the period of time where like she was the butt of the joke with Jason. I think
that was probably uncomfortable too. Like,
yeah, I'm sure.
This old man and you're 18 and you're like, don't want to do
like,
this.
When Tana was young, she was always that girl that like people just treated like that. Like that was her character to everyone, and it's like one thing if she's saying it about herself and like making jokes about it, but for like a group of adults to like make those jokes about her and have a 45-year-old man like constantly pursuing her in a vlog, it's like, it's just like too far.
Yeah.
But that is the rise, fall, and the
semi-rise of David Dobrik.
Yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. Y'all tell us what you think of David Dobrik.
Yes, and let us know what other deep dives you would like to see, because we enjoy doing these.
Yeah,
so
it's like a good little break for us from talking about hot topics too.
Yeah.
So
make sure that you subscribe to the channel.
Yep, rate us 5 stars on Spotify and Apple Podcast.
And we will catch you next week.
Yep.
TTYL.
Bye.
She's 21, love a savage, but she got a little